if you needed proof that artificial intelligence is about to collide with American civil liberties, this was it. During a tense exchange, Senator Elissa Slotkin asked a Pentagon nominee a direct question. Are there any mass surveillance programs of the American people happening right now? A complicated question, no. A classified a poshy question, no answer. She wanted was simple. No, she got he for she. She got he and for bushent.
So we have Senator Slotkin and then Senator King.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Ditlevson, I want to talk about some reports we had this week coming out of the Pentagon about the use of artificial intelligence. And you know, we all know, or many of us know, we're in a classified race against the Chinese on artificial intelligence. Reports came out this week that Secretary Hegseth was negotiating a contract with an AI company, and this AI company says, look, we just have two conditions. We're not going to allow our AI to be used to develop weapons that can kill without a human being in the kill chain. And then number two, we're not going to allow our AI to be used for mass surveillance of American citizens. And that Secretary Hegseth got very upset about those two conditions, that he refused those conditions. And now I think this is, you know, if we were a healthier country politically right now, we would be putting up left and right limits around the use of AI. We have really no guidelines for you all, really no law. That's not your fault. That's on us on a bipartisan basis that we haven't done it. And I would argue we should be doing some of that for you all in this committee, setting up those left and right limits. Because I think the average person does not think we should allow weapon systems to get into war and kill people without a human being overseeing that in some way. And I certainly don't think any American Democrat or Republican wants mass surveillance on the American people. So I guess my plea is for us as a committee to deal with this in the NDAA. But because you're up for the job on Homeland issues, I have to ask about this mass surveillance. Why wouldn't Secretary Hegseth say, no problem, we're never going to use AI at the Pentagon to conduct mass surveillance of American citizens? You've been the number two over there. You're now gunning for the number one job, up for confirmation. To your knowledge, is the Assistant Secretary role of Homeland Security, do you have any programs currently going on involved in the mass surveillance of American citizens?
Senator, I can't speak to the specifics of that meeting with Secretary
No, of course not. I'm not asking that. Just for you. You've been in the number two job. You're in the seat. Don't deflect. To your knowledge, the purview of the position you're trying to get, is there any mass surveillance programs of the American people going on right now in that assistant secretaryship?
To my knowledge, Senator, not within that assistant secretaryship. We focus on policy writing.
That's fine. I want the answer to be no. I'm gunning for a no. I want you to say no. Are you aware, and can you confirm that it is illegal under U.S. law for the Department of Defense, and particularly intelligence community assets, to surveil or target American citizens for their views?
Senator, I'm not intimately familiar with the exact language in different statutes. I would always defer to the Office of General Counsel to make sure any policy advice that we provide is lawful.
Okay, it is the law, right? Executive orders, the National Security Act of 1947, and then everything that came out of Watergate. American citizens don't want to be surveilled by their government. You do criminal activity, go for it. You should be brought down. But mass surveillance, targeted surveillance of domestic terrorist organizations is a very sensitive subject that you're going to be in the hot seat for. So I would offer that instead of just deferring, you should get to know the law really quickly, because you're going to be asked at some point whether the actions of this government are okay by you. And when it comes to targeting American citizens, using assets of the intelligence community, using AI to surveil American citizens, I want you to answer no, that you will uphold the values that I hope we all share, which is that the U.S. government should never target its own citizens. Department of Defense especially should be focused on foreign threats and the things that are coming at us from abroad. Yours should be focused on cyber threats, things that are important to protecting American citizens, not surveilling our own people. And I will just say, along the same lines of what you will be asked, you know, Senator Sheehy was in Iraq, I was in Iraq too. Do you know of any credible threats of violence against U.S. polling locations that would ever require the National Guard to be deployed? Any actual credible threats, yes or no?
Senator, in this particular forum, I can't speak about any threats that may or may not exist and need to maintain operational security.
I think the idea that the President of the United States is saying that we should deploy National Guard and potentially others around polling locations when there is no credible threats. You should bring them up here if there are credible threats. We all have clearances, but the idea that we could be deploying law enforcement and National Guard around a polling location without a credible threat should send a shiver down your spine. And you are going to be in the hot seat to say, no, I'm sorry. That just fundamentally cuts against who we are as Americans. And I hope you are willing to uphold your oath when it comes down to it. Yield back.
Mr. Ditlevson, if Senator Slotkin got on a classified phone with you from the SCIF, you could answer that question. Is that correct?
That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Okay, thank you very much. And now we have Senator Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Reports surfaced that Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth was negotiating with an AI company that demanded 2 guardrails before signing a contract. Their AI would not be used to develop autonomous weapons that kill without a human in the decision loop. Their AI would not be used for mass surveillance of American citizens. According to the reporting referenced in the hearing, those conditions became sticking points. Slotkin's argument was clear. In a healthier political system, Congress would already have drawn bright red lines around AI use in warfare and domestic surveillance. Instead, the guardrails are blurry. And when she asked whether any mass surveillance programs exist within the Assistant Secretary's purview, the nominee said, "To my knowledge, not within that Assistant Secretary." That's not the same as no. Then she asked a second foundational question. Is it illegal under U.S. law for the Department of Defense to surveil or target American citizens for their views? That's not controversial. The answer should be yes, it's illegal. The National Security Act of 1947, post-Watergate reforms, executive orders, all establish limits on domestic surveillance, especially by military and intelligence entities. But again, instead of a firm declaration, the nominee deferred to legal counsel. Here's why this moment matters. We are entering an AI arms race with China. That's real. Advanced machine learning systems can analyze massive datasets, detect patterns, identify threats faster than any human analyst. But the same systems that detect foreign cyber attacks could theoretically be pointed inward. AI doesn't distinguish between foreign and domestic data unless humans tell it to. And that's the crux of Slotkin's concern. Without clear legislative limits, are we trusting executive discretion alone to prevent abuse? She wasn't arguing that criminals shouldn't be investigated. She made that clear. She was warning against mass surveillance, broad monitoring of law-abiding Americans. There's a reason this hits nerves. After Watergate, Americans demanded limits on intelligence agencies spying on political opponents. That's why reforms were passed. That's why oversight committees exist. Now layer AI on top of that history. Instead of agents reading files, you could have algorithms scanning social media, financial data, geolocation patterns, all at scale. The technology makes mass monitoring easier, so the law has to be clearer. Slotkin also raised another explosive hypothetical, deploying National Guard forces around polling locations without credible threats. In a democracy, military presence near ballot boxes is sensitive. It should require extraordinary justification. The nominee again declined to answer in an open setting, noting classified channels exist. Technically fair, politically unsettling, because the American public wants reassurance that their government isn't turning its most powerful tools inward. This is bigger than one nominee. It's about the boundaries of power in the AI era. Should AI be allowed to operate lethal systems without a human in the kill chain? Should AI be used to monitor Americans at scale? Who sets the limits? Congress or the executive branch? Slotkin essentially admitted something rare in Washington. Congress hasn't done enough. She said the failure to set guardrails is bipartisan. That's true. The technology is moving faster than the law. But here's the bottom line. The Department of Defense exists to address foreign threats. When ambiguity creeps in about whether its tools could be used domestically, even hypothetically, alarm bells ring. Because once capabilities exist, history shows they can be misused. Democracies don't collapse overnight. They erode when lines blur. This hearing wasn't dramatic shouting. It was something more important, a warning about future power. AI will define the next decade of national security. The question is whether civil liberties will keep pace. And that debate is just beginning. Stay informed, stay vigilant, and I'll see you in the next one.